Booyah.
Alejandro's back. He's
Bro.
back from the dead. My guy was nearly gone, but he's back.
The hat game's been strong.
It has. It's down over that forehead,
bro,
huh?
Bro, keep it low on the brim. I like it. Steven, you look quite comfortable. Tell me what's going on.
Alejandro got rid of the desk. He was sick of it. So
Yeah.
now we upgraded to sofa life.
Yeah. But we still don't have anything
We
on the
need to figure
background
out.
here.
Alejandro's going to figure out getting assigned to it, yeah, Alejandro.
We'll change the build out of the furniture 10 times before we put anything on this back wall.
100%. 100%. We need to get the third mic going for Handro too, so he can at least communicate with us.
Yeah, if you're going to sit in the room, it's kind of weird to not.
We're talking to someone that they don't even know is there. We probably could do that too.
We have the mic. It's just we got to get the access.
Yeah. Well, you know, before we dive into today's topic, we might as well, had a bit of stammer there. We should probably talk about the year so far. More agencies having pretty incredible. We're nearly at 200 files, aren't we? Pending and closed already for the year.
Yeah, it's wild. We're by the end of the month, we will have pending and closed more than what we did all of last year, which is kind of a wild stat.
We have one agent who's already 4x'd their entire production before they joined us.
Yes.
We had another agent who's already got something obscene like 24 files pending and closed this year compared to last year, and they did 10.
Sure. Well, and then there's a couple of rookies that are like new to the industry, and it's on their own effort, but definitely with our roadmap, they are stepping in and crushing files early, which is, that's awesome.
I saw we have an agent 7 months under license. They've already closed and have pending $1.6 million in business.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
So good.
That early in the business. So yeah,
it's insane.
Things are great at More Agency. But today what we're going to talk about is things we wish, or we think that people wish they knew when they bought homes. And this is actually supported and backed by a study. So we're going to talk about, firstly, New American Funding did this study. They released it online. Alejandro, let's make sure we put the link to the study below in the notes so people can see it. But the top 3 things when they interviewed all homeowners who were surveyed before they bought wish we could have edited that out, but that's okay. Before they surveyed people. Am I having like a mental seizure on the podcast? Is this like a man?
Spit it out, man.
Seizure. So the top 3 things they say homeowners wish they knew before they purchased the home, right? This is quite interesting to me. So number 1 was they wish 20% of homeowners surveyed wish they knew they could have down payment assistance.
Interesting.
Number 2, 13.5% didn't know you don't need 20% down.
Wow.
And number 3, wish they knew more that you may be able to negotiate with sellers.
Interesting. So this is 25 data.
Yeah, this is last year's data. I mean, like this is, so 2026, it says at the bottom, like all the notes, it says, the big survey they did, they got it all down there. The first one, what do you think, down payment assistance? Do you really think people aren't aware about down payment assistance?
Yeah, I honestly think even agents don't know about down payment assistance.
100%.
I don't know, when rates were really cheap, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even before that, you didn't hear it talked about near as much because there wasn't a press, on the
Well, you didn't need it, did you?
Yeah,
What did it matter? You 2.5% interest rate. They're just like, get me the house.
Post COVID, and then post the rates going back up into the 6, 7s, and 8s or wherever, you felt the pressure. I definitely think that the lending community has started to talk about it more from their platforms, right?
That's what stimulates the economy, doesn't it? As
Yeah,
well. It gets people moving. If you can make it easier and cheaper to move.
Do you think, we've been talking a lot about this internally, and just like with the AI, wave that we're in right now, do you think that more consumers will find out about it because they're going to ask questions to a language model that's like, hey, I'm going to buy a house and I want to understand the process, and they will be more familiar with this? Or is it just kind of a hidden?
I think if it's talked about enough, it will. And if it's put out there content, right? Because the way that AI stuff learns is it's the content out there that it reads and it goes off. But I think
20% is a big number, though. That's 1 in 5 homeowners.
Yeah, but I think bigger than that, though, is like what you said. You touched on it. I don't think agents know. Because if you think about that, typically the order in which the home buying process goes is, number 1, I decide I want to buy a house. Number 2, I'm going to get with an agent. And that's whether you interview them, you know them, you're referred to them. And then in that process, you're going to talk to the agent about your financing. Like, we have a whole section in our buyer's presentation to talk about how do you plan to finance this home. You know, you don't have to tell me your earnings, but do you have a savings account? What are you doing? Are you getting a gift from someone? And then we have, you know, preferred lending partners that we would encourage people to talk to. Now, we know, and the majority of our agents, actually all of our agents would know that if they're talking with someone who may qualify for a down payment assistance program, they are going to talk to them about it. I actually think we have a section on it in our buyer presentation. So we make people aware of it. I think the concern more is, do hobbyists?
Sure.
And the vast majority of the industry is a hobbyist industry. And you know what's interesting about that, actually? Well, they say 20% does 80% of the business. Mm-hmm. So that means that 20% is being done by 80% of the industry. It's funny that that's 20% of people that didn't know about down payment assistance. I wonder if working with a hobbyist style agent is why they didn't know about it.
Well, and I'll layer this in there. This is a question for the lending community. I would be curious to know how many of these down payment assistant programs are legacy programs that existed, you know, pre the rates being, you know, where they're at, versus new programming that came out because of the you know.
Well, they do come and go, don't they, as well? That's the other thing.
Sometimes there's lots of them.
It's like state backed. The state does it till the funds go. Mm-hmm. So the next one, you don't need 20% down. 13.5% of home buyers surveyed wish they knew they didn't need 20% down. Again, I'm kind of wondering where they're getting their information from for that to be the case.
It's a big number again. Like, you know, that's 1 in 10 people that you would come across that have bought a home or in the home buying market.
Thought you needed 20%.
Yeah, they wouldn't know that you didn't have to do that. So there's just a biased assumption there.
I think you're right, though. I think it probably does track with people we interview, though, that would be the case. Because the other thing, like a lot of them do think, you know, I don't quite have 20% yet. Well, you don't need 20%. The other thing as well, PMI is such a taboo. That people don't understand that there's the factors that go into it. I think it's the amount of money you're borrowing, your credit score, and defaults on mortgages at the time. So your PMI may be a lot lower than you think. So trying to put down an extra 40 grand to not spend $60, $70, $80 a month more on your mortgage, that might not equate for as long as you plan to be on the home.
Well, and I think that there's always still been this mentality of like your cash is king, right? And so like the more of it that you have to be able to throw at a transaction like this, it's actually better for you. And I don't necessarily know if that's always the case, depending on the circumstances that you're in. It might be better for you to keep your cash in your pocket versus throw it into your, you know, fixed asset that's, you know, it's trapped equity at that point, unless you're going to go get a home equity line. Yeah. So it's like, that may not be always the right case. But again, I think that's really interesting that there's still over 10% of people that are in the home buying market in 2025. And you know, I'm sure it's a similar number in 2026. It'll be interesting to see the data this year and see if that's compressed now because of like awareness. Both stats, I think, are something that's like, it seems like a solvable problem. It's an awareness thing.
Yeah.
But is it a trend or not? We'll see.
And then the final one, if you didn't realize you could negotiate with your seller, fire your agent. Like, we don't really even talk about that. Like, you can negotiate with them. And the reality is, I saw a guy talk once. He gave
unless we're listing the property, then you can't.
So listen, no, the price is the price.
Just kidding.
Although we do have sellers that do tell us the price is the price. I heard a guy talk once at a conference, a 1,000-watt conference, which is an incredible conference to go to if you've never been to it. We met Sherry Pessa Jensen there. We have a lot of time for Sherry. She is a real estate genius. If you're in the industry and looking to find someone to consult on your business with, highly recommend Sherry.
Yeah, shout out T360.
They're a great
awesome
group
organization.
There. And when you look at this data, this guy told me before, your job as a realtor, when he's talking to everyone, he's like, your job is not a salesperson for these houses. No. You're an advisor.
Of course.
They set the list price. They tell you the time when they want to close. And I think too many people in this industry think they are salespeople. I would argue that the order of kind of our identities go is advisor, marketer, salesperson.
For sure.
Like, that's what we do. Like, you obviously, and with obviously the other thing that goes in there that shouldn't be overlooked is realtors need to know data and understand the market and that, but that's just part of the job. But as identities, when people talk about being a salesperson, that's really not what you are as a realtor. You have to advise on their why, what they're doing, and how they're doing it.
Yeah, you're a consultant. You're trying to empower them to make their decisions. You have no skin in the game, no dog in the fight, and I think that's it's a common misconception. and agents still practice poorly that way constantly in the industry today. And it's my buyer and my seller, and get emotionally and ride the wave with them. And it's like, no, you're not that. That's you're stepping out of line at that point.
And I think some of them, when you talk to them about that, they turn around and say, well, I'm still I'm being the advocate for the client. Well, yeah, you can be their advocate, but also be their advisor. You don't need to become so emotionally embroiled in the whole thing where it makes it tough for everyone.
Yeah.
Because also, it's already emotionally charged. It's uber stressful buying a house or selling your house. It's crazy. The last thing they need is an emotionally charged agent through it.
Yeah, when the best advocate you can be is to empower them with enough information so that they can make the best decision. Because you don't know all of their circumstances. You couldn't talk to them enough to really understand the entire ecosystem as to why they're doing what they're doing. You just have to empower them with the best information. And that's true posture as a good agent today.
Well, how many times has a seller told you this is our bottom number and they end up accepting less? Or how many times has a buyer not revealed their whole financial circumstance? It happens all the time. Yeah. So you just have to advise of what you know and go from there. The other thing that was really interesting on this was this study also talks about the amount of money people put down. And what really surprised me there is that when you look at the numbers, a third of people put 3.5% down.
A third of people put 3.5% down.
So
interesting.
Up to that. Now that would make sense, right? Because if you think about what we've gone through a high period of interest rates. And what loan is very desirable when interest rates are high? FHA loans.
Sure.
Which does not stand for first time home buyer loan, which some people think it does.
Yeah, not at all.
Those loans come with a lower interest rate than the conventional loan at the time.
Yeah, typically, right.
And in order to get one of those loans, one of the things it tells you is you can put down 3.5%. So I don't necessarily think this is people being cash strapped.
Yeah.
I think that it's people looking at it and going, well, hang on, the interest rate sucks, 6.8% sucks. And then the lender goes, well, actually, we put you in FHA loan, I'll get you in at 6.2. And they go, whoa, brilliant. Well, hang on, how much do I need to put down? Well, you can put down as little, which is definitely the way it's going to be pitched, 3.5%. And if you're a buyer under economic duress, how great does that sound? Well, hang on, I can put down 3.5%. I'll refi when rates change into a conventional loan.
Yeah, keep your cash on hand.
Keep my cash on hand again, just like what you said. Cash is king. And if you're buying a house, the last thing you want to do is spend all your cash.
Yeah, then you're house poor, and that's no fun. I'm curious, though. I think we're going to talk about this stat coming up here, but it's like the duration of time in the house. And I think for a period in the marketplace, especially when rates were cheap, there was this pressure to not go FHA and to go conventional because the idea was you were buying a house that had a lot of longevity timeline-wise. So you didn't want to, these FHA loans, you carry your mortgage insurance, your PMI, for the duration of your loan, no matter where you're at in your equity position. So you could have 50% equity in your property and you're still paying PMI on the FHA side of things. So I'm curious to see what the timelines data says, because
this is the thing.
If you're staying in a place a short period of time, it doesn't matter if you're paying the PMI or not.
Well, you have 20% of people said 0 to 5 years. 35% of people said 5 to 20 years. And then pretty much beyond that, it's more than 20 years or forever.
Wait, what? Zoom that back in again. So 5 to 20 years is 35% of people. That's the largest demographic.
Which makes sense because the average American is 5 to 8 years now in their home.
But another 20% were 0 to 5 years.
Yeah, which again makes sense if you think about life.
I think there's probably a heavy demographic that would fall into each one of those.
Oh, if you had like an overlap, like a 5 to
like the 0 to 5 years or whatever. I doubt that that's baby boomers. They're probably there long term. They don't have the pressures of life that are creating the move necessity, other than probably right sizing. Not downsizing, but right sizing, right?
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? There was 20%, 25% forever.
Pretty much the rest. When you go beyond 20 years, look, forever's a quarter of people are saying that.
Quarter of the people think they're going to live in their house forever. That's bold.
I've had clients buy a forever home loan and call me 2 years later to sell it.
For sure.
So I would never say forever, like in the words of Outkast, forever. I don't think so.
I'd love to see the disproven data there. That's 25% say they're going to stay there, and 90% of them move within 5 years or something like that.
The hard thing is, I have a client going through this right now. They want to know, like, will our money, like, if we put this money in the house, will it be safe moving forward? Like, if we do the kitchen, will we get the money back? And it's like, well, beyond a certain extent of time, I can't tell you. Sure. If anything, I can tell you when you're definitely not getting it back.
How I've had that conversation is like, well, if let's just say it's a 10-year run, 15-year run in a house, right? at some point, if you're going to put money in year 3, you're going to have to depreciate the value of the money you've put in for enjoying it and using it. Because if you update now at year 3 of home ownership and you're going to stay in a house 15 years.
This is the argument for swimming pools, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, in 12 years, the house is probably out of date at some point, in certain aspects.
100%. I mean, to expand on when we say that's the argument for swimming pools, what some people will tell you is putting in the average swimming pool in Tulsa right now, 125 grand probably for a pool and a spa.
Yeah, if you want something that's
pretty good,
pretty decent.
Okay, 125 grand. If you talk to an appraiser, they'll tell you it may add the recent number I was quoted between 5 to 9% of price of the house. So if your house is 500 grand, that means it's going to add roughly between 25 and about $45,000. So let's go on the high end. You spent 125 grand, put the pool in. Yeah. You got 45 grand added value to a property. That's a delta of 80 grand. But to your point, if I'm there 15 years, I'm not going to really, you're just going to look at it and go, no, it's just part of being in the house. It was cheaper than going to a country club. It was cheaper than whatever.
For easy math, if you were there for 8 years, that's 10 grand a year. Did you enjoy it 10 grand a year plus the depreciation aspect of it?
In Oklahoma, you're probably in it 10 months of that year. So it's like,
you can be. Especially if you got it heated. And at 125 grand, you're getting a heated pool and a spa.
Exactly. So $250 a week. Yeah. It's less than $50 a day to be in your pool.
Yeah.
When you break the math down like that.
But people don't, they're way more linear than that.
Of course.
Like, I spent 125 grand on the pool. It's a $500,000 house. My house is now minimum 625. And it's like, that's just not how it works.
That's the worst thing when someone tries to tell you, by the way, the amount of money their client has put in the backyard or somewhere. Yeah. Therefore, that translates to the house. It's tough.
Pools are real interesting too, and we're kind of wormholing here, but pools are so specific to like what somebody wants that you can make some really poor decisions in putting a pool in your backyard. Just putting a hole in the ground is not adding value. I can't tell you how many pools I've seen in somebody's backyard that they don't match the house at all. There's no congruency. It was like, we built this house or we live in this house. It has its own style, its own living, breathing, kind of ecosystem. And then we put this thing in the backyard and there was like no congruency or continuity thought behind it. And it just doesn't fit, right? Yep. So it kind of almost sticks out like a sore thumb. And honestly, it turns buyers off. So thinking through that, I don't know, if I was going to give somebody advice, like really get some consultation, probably even from real estate professional on like, we're thinking about putting in a pool, what's valuable, what's not, because just because you want it does not mean it's valuable.
Well, I think a good pool designer, though, is going to look at your entire backyard.
Agreed.
And they're not just going to go, a bad pool designer is going to go, you want that pool there? We'll put it there. A good one's going to go, well, we're going to rip this out. We're also going to do flower beds here. You're going to need a path here. Have you thought about where they're going to enter the house to use the bathroom? Do you have tiled floor? Like all of those things, like people don't give much mind to. But the biggest thing about this, I think, when you look at this report to take away is you got to know what's going on in the market and what your options are as a buyer or a seller. Literally, my wife will never let me forget. Well, before I was in real estate, we had just got married and we were talking about buying a house. So what do? Call the bank. No idea what to do. So I called Chase. Chase at the time said, to buy a house, typically we want you to have 20% down. Well, we had just got married. There's no way we were going to do that. So we just stopped the whole conversation right there.
Right.
Never called. I knew you, didn't know to call you, didn't call any other mortgage lenders, didn't know to do that, didn't know any of that stuff. We could have probably put ourselves on the property ladder 5-6 years earlier than we did if we had known this information. So again, this is why information is so important to the consumer in real estate right now. Like if you're trying to buy, yes, interest rates are higher and you know, people talk about, you may see homes sitting on the market around you or what have you. But if you get down with someone and you understand what's going on, there's a ton of opportunity out there, isn't there?
Yeah. I'm curious, now that you are one of the leading edges of this industry, right? You're pacing almost everybody, right? I'm curious, from your perspective, do you think that the home buying process right now for the consumer, based on your direct interactions with them, is more emotionally driven or more data driven?
I think at its core, it still is emotion.
Yeah.
Because like you can tell them all day long, hey, that's a good deal. But there's a part, I think, in the buyer's mind that's like 6.6%, 6.6%. And COVID has just created this vicious, terrible hangover. And it's the same for sellers. There's this terrible thing, like you talk about it, where you can cause your home to sell by getting the pricing right. And sellers don't want to compromise on that right now. They'll call you and go, hey, we've been on the market 4 weeks. We've had one showing. What's going on? Well, it's kind of reflective. There's not a ton of buyers out there right now and rates are the way they are and there's a bit of instability. Well, okay, what can we do to get more showings? We can do a price adjustment. We're not sure we want to do that yet.
So flip it now onto the other side of the transaction on the home selling side of things. Do you think that is more data driven or more emotionally driven?
Again, emotions. So because you present them, you present it with all the data up front, don't you, with a listing? We've talked about it. Like, as a good agent, you should sit there and you should present comps. You should talk to them about what the interest rates were when those houses closed, so they understand what that buyer's monthly buying power was.
Right.
You should do those things when you attend a listing appointment. Whether people do or not, it's up to them. We do, but I still think at the end of the day, you're going to show them a number and they're going to go, yeah, but we want this. And sometimes, by the way, I have a client right now looking at a list. Ran numbers, they'd be 615 all day long, no problem. And she texted me back and said, if we go on, we don't want to go on there. We want to go on maybe 30, 40 grand less because we just want to get it sold.
Yeah.
So even then, that's the emotion. Because and I said, well, what's the thought behind this? And she said, we just don't want to be sat on the market. We're scared we're going to be sat on the market. So it's emotion.
I think that you're exactly right. And I agree with you in your opinion. I think that what makes you a really good agent is that consultative approach to helping somebody interpret their data, the data that they have access to through their emotional decision making, right? And that's how you're not selling somebody, but you're helping them process through, right, those two filters. And if the final filter is the emotion, like you can't not consider that in the consultation process because otherwise you're just a robot smashing data at them and that's not going to get anything done.
And it goes back to what we said at the beginning. You're not a salesperson in real estate. You're an advisor. Like you cannot make someone buy a house.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not a t-shirt. You can't make them go buy it. Try it on when you get home. You'll love it. Like this is like you really must want it. So
in this report, I'm curious. So they brought up those 3 things that home buyers wish they would have known that they didn't know. Do you think there's anything else that like maybe is not in their report or isn't the top 3 that's also really worth kind of considering and knowing?
I do think buyers sometimes don't understand that once you get in a house, you may find something that wasn't found at inspections. And I know that's a kind of niche. It sounds like a niche answer, but like think about how many times you had a phone call from a client like, "Hey, we found this," and it's like, "Yeah, well, you've been in the house."
Yeah.
A good example of this is sewer lines. Like you can get them scoped, you can get all those things, but sometimes if they start using them, you got 3, 4, 5 kids in the house using the bathroom.
Yeah.
Stuff's getting thrown down it, and you got girls in the bathroom, all this stuff. And those toilet lines start to get clogged under duress. Like that can happen sometimes. You don't realize it. Electrical systems under full strain. So sometimes I think that there are little things that you can be in your house and just find them. Like my house, we moved in and we didn't know under extreme rain our basement has water come in it. It comes in, it goes.
Sure.
Situation comes in.
Might not have happened at that period.
Right. When that started happening, that rain come through, I started freaking out. I think I called Scott about 10:30 at night. Like, what is going on in my basement? He's like,
bless his heart.
Yeah. Scott's like, oh, don't worry about it. Just we'll call Chad in the morning, see what he says.
Get a towel.
Shout out Chad with AI. And Chad says if it goes in 24 hours, you're good. It went in 24 hours. But again, if you don't know that, so it's like the things you learn when you move in. So I don't even know how you set that expectation with them. We try and tell them, but it's still, again, the emotion of it, the shock of it is tough.
Well, and then there's the like kind of the contrarian point of view here in me is like, all right, so this is data from people that actually ended up with the result, which is they bought the house. I'd be curious to know surveys from people who were going to try and buy a house and
never bought
for whatever reason. Yeah, what would have stopped them? What did they wish they would have known that maybe would have changed their mind? That's a good data set.
All right, I'm gonna put that as a poll on my Instagram now. Find out.
Boom.
All right. Well, as always, appreciate you guys checking us out. New studio set up. Handro's going to have some stuff on the walls next time we come back. Peace.
See you.
Good job.